Okay, guys, so you can ask questions if you have. Okay, so it will take hardly 2 more minutes. Then we will continue. So if you have any doubt regarding the NAT configuration, static NAT, because we will discuss static NAT today in more detail, many to many, many to one, one to many, right? So these types we will discuss. Okay. So just I'm trying to put one more device between them. Okay. So we have R2 and this PC will connect here on outside network. So this is like a bridge, or you can say bridge is like layer to device just to pass the traffic, right? So same type of component. Delete it. I need to stop it. Okay. So this is 20.2 and this is going to become the device. We can say 20.3. Okay. So let me power on the devices. So guys, let's start. Thank you for your patience. So guys, am I audible to everyone properly or is there any problem? Daniel?
I've not been able to look at the last video though, so maybe I'll do it tonight. But you can
Okay,
go ahead.
okay, no problem. So guys, let's start. So yesterday I just covered about static net configuration. So that static net was one to one, right? So today I'm going to discuss in net about more features. Like more features what? So just I'm telling you about. We are discussing here about static net, right? So we are on static net. So in static net, the first flavor we discussed one to one net. So in that we just translated one IP address into another IP address, right? So we translate one IP into another IP. And similar I did in another zone. So that is DMZ. So in DMZ also we did with this IP and we translated with another IP address, like this IP address, right? So one-to-one net is basically known for server roam, right? So whenever we have servers or whenever we have some load balancer, so at that time we can use, right? So we have just maybe one load balancer IP. But after that, if we have more options, what we have, the second thing, second type of static net is many to many, guys. Okay, that is many to many. So what do you know with many to many? Many to many means whenever I want to translate multiple IPs into multiple public IP, so I need to create equal type of pool on LAN and on WAN as well. Okay, like I have range of these IPs. Okay, or just say like we have these IP address. Okay, before that I must show you about many to one. What is the meaning of many to one? Many to one means I can translate multiple WAN IP in a single IP. So that is example of load balancer which I explained you here, right? So we can also use here in the case of load balancer. How? Let me explain you the scenario. So first we need to understand the scenario. So the load balancer IP is for me this IP address, right? And I'm going to translate this IP with multiple IPs like with 11, okay, with 12 and 13, 20.11, 20.12, 20.13, okay. So these are the multiple public IP address. So there can be some scenarios in your network where you are using load balancer, okay. Okay. Yeah. So here is the example. Suppose you have here firewall in your network. Firewall is connected with your internet, and here you have load balancer, okay. So this is load balancer. Behind the load balancer you have multiple servers. You have multiple servers, okay. So we have here network of 30. So this is 30.10, 30.10, right? And here on load balancer we are using one IP address, that is 30.1.1.3, okay. And now we have multiple services here, like one we have service for 80, 443, or you can say, just an example, these are three servers actually, that is server 1, server 2, server 3. So what we want, if anyone is trying to come on my public network, so on public network I have here pool of public IP, I have here pool of public IP. So these are the three IP for me, 20.11, 12 and 13, right? So that means if any user is on internet and those user are trying to hit on my public IP, maybe this IP, this IP or this IP, right? So those pool must be translated into a single IP address in that case. Are you getting my point? That means I have three public IP. So if anyone is trying to hit my 11 IP, that should translate into 30.1.1.3. And if anyone is going to translate with 12 IP address, so that also going to be translated into same IP address. And if anyone is coming with this translated IP address, so that should be translated into 30.3, right? Why? The reason is all traffic will come to your load balancer first, and load balancer will share the traffic maybe to this server, maybe this server, or maybe this server, right? So these are the task of load balancer. So you need to just forward the traffic toward the load balancer, right? So in that case, which IP is going to be translated? So I'm asking you guys today. So could you tell me which is your mapped interface here and which is your real interface? And I want to know the reason today. So who will tell me? Yeah, the recording is off, so you can clearly tell me. Daniel, am I audible, guys? Kenel, which interface is real or which is mapped? Okay. Seher, Vidya, any one of you guys? Just you need to understand the traffic flow. Okay, what you need to do, guys? Just need to understand the traffic flow, right? So the traffic is initiated by the user. So user is initiating the traffic. Just an example, user is 2.2.2. Okay, make it more easy. The user is 20.1.1.3. This is the IP address of user. User is trying to hit any IP address which are the pool of public IP for you. Maybe 11. Okay. So that means whenever user is trying to send data to this destination IP, and this is the source IP address. So here we have destination and this is the source. So when traffic will come on the firewall, so firewall is going to check your which table, NAT table, and NAT table is telling about the translation of if traffic is coming for 11, translate into 30.3. If traffic is coming for 12, translate into 30.3. If traffic is coming for 13, translate into 3. So in all cases you are translating into this IP. But the point is here, which IP address are you translating in the traffic flow? So in the traffic flow, traffic is hitting on this interface. So source IP is the user IP, and you are translating the destination IP, which is 20.11. So 20.11 is translating here. So if this interface is translating destination IP, that means this interface is mapped for me. This interface is, guys, mapped for me, right? So automatically other interface is going to become real interface for me, right? So now I need to create rule according to the real interface, not according to the mapped interface. If you remember, rule is always according to real interface. Okay, I hope this is clear to everyone. Guys, are you getting my points? Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to configure here network object network. And what I want to create, I want to create network object for my host, because I have single real IP for now, that is 30.3. And now I need to create net. I need to define here my real interface. Okay, and then I need to define here mapped interface. I need to define static, and now I can configure the range of that. But here you can't define the range directly, so you need to create here network object. Like this is my net rule one. Okay, but for this net rule you need to create another object. Okay, network object. So this network object is for the public pool, so I will give it name public underscore pool, right? Or you can give like public pool. So this is the name for me. Okay, and under that I am going to give here configuration, and here I need to define the range word, right? Under that I need to define the range word. So that means now you have here range of these IPs like 11 and 13. So these are the total 3 IPs, right? And this rule I am need to define here after static. So after static I will give the name is like this is the name. Okay, which is here, right? So this must be same, this must be same. So now all these 3 IP is going to be translated into this IP address. Okay, and even if you remember, we need to create ACL for real IP address, that is 30.3. That is 30.3. Why? Because traffic is going to hit on your lower security level interface, right? Lower security interface. Are you getting my point? Okay, if that is clear, so let's start with the configuration, guys. So here we have this setup. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we need to configure the firewall, because I reboot the firewall and the configuration is not exist. Okay, so we need to configure it from scratch. Okay, so just I'm going to configure. Host name is ASA. Interface gig 0 by 0, that is LAN interface. Name if inside. IP address 10.10. Okay. Interface gig 0 by 1. Name if outside. Okay. And IP address 20.10. Interface gig 0 by 2. No shutdown. Name if DMZ. And I need to give security level 50. IP address is 30.3, right? And at the same time I'm going to give the route here as well for my 3 subnet that I will use later, right? So just I'm giving here for now. Okay, wait a minute. 333. What we configured?
You did not configure the
Wrong IP. Yeah. Okay. So if we check, show interface IP brief. So we have here IP on all the interfaces, and show route, we have route as well. If I try to ping, I must reach. Okay. And even if I try to ping R2, that must reach. Okay. So I configured that configuration. So now before the NAT configuration, I have to set here IP address. Okay. So what I'm going to set, okay, dot 3. Just a minute, I forget to add the color. Okay. So it's here. And now, guys, you need to install one software that is under the Eve section. So you can use AVNZ client. Okay. So AVNZ client, you need to install on your laptop. So you can get QME access of the Windows, right? So here I have this Windows. I need to give IP as well. So let me configure the IP address. And whenever you will give the IP address and all these things, so make sure never give DNS. Okay, so don't give DNS here. Why? The reason is if you give the DNS, it will generate a lot of traffic to your firewall in the lab, and it will give you the problem to troubleshoot or to check your traffic. That's why. Okay, we will give the DNS, but later, not now. The gateway is firewall IP. So DNS is here, nothing for now. Okay, just save it. Okay. So if you try to ping, you can try to ping here. Okay, so we are able to reach the firewall. Okay, and we configured the PC. And now we have to configure this firewall. So what I'm going to do, every time I'm going to generate the traffic from this device. So this device is going to hit here on which IP address is, maybe this is the IP 12 or 13. So all the three IPs are going to be translated into 30.3 into 30.3. Okay. So now let's configure the configuration on firewall. So on firewall we did the basic configuration. So for this basic configuration, I can write down the configuration. Okay. And now I'm going to configure here net role. So first of all, I need to define my public IPs, public pool, right? So public pool is with name PP L. Okay, and here I need to give the range. So range is for all the public IPs. After that, we need to configure here object network again. Object network is for net rule 1. Okay, and under that we want to configure for real IP address 30.3, and that IP is going to be NAT. Okay, and where real interface is DMZ, and your mapped interface is outside static, and you need to give here name is PPL, right? So that PPL IP is going to translate into 30. Okay, and after that, if you remember, we need to configure the access list also, because the traffic is coming from lower to higher security lower level. So ACL is our task 1, permit TCP, because we want to generate TCP traffic, talent traffic. Okay, any port number 23, and access group is task 1 in interface outside, so that is on outside interface. So never forget to configure ACL. Okay, and now if you check show con, there is no entry, show exclude, but we have entry here, right? So what we did, we configured a net rule for this IP address to outside zone. Okay, so outside zone can convert into 3 IPs, 11 and your 12/31. So 31 means there are 2 IP address. There are 2 IP address, right? And if you check NAT, so NAT also have from DMZ to outside, DMZ to outside, right? And we have rule 1 have called PPL means the 3 IP address. These are the 3 IP. Okay, so now let initiate the traffic. So now how we can initiate the traffic? So I need to use putty, and we will move into the other section, that is telnet, and here we need to type the IP address. So I'm going to type 11, right? So 11 will hit, and we want to see on which IP address it will get. So username is admin, password is Cisco. So we are getting R3 access. So I'm not closing the putty. I will create another session, right? I will open the putty. So that's why I use the endpoint, because if I try from the router, I can take telnet only at a time, one telnet connection. But if I have software, I can open multiple sessions, right? So this time I'm trying with 12, admin and Cisco. So see 11 and 12, right? And we are getting access of R3. And here 20.13, right? Admin and Cisco. Wait a minute, maybe I did wrong password. Okay, so now we have 3 putty sessions with this host. So that means 3 times they tried to access multiple IPs, and they are getting access of the same box. Why? Because if you check, we have total here 3 hits, right? So that means untranslated hit means the traffic initiated from lower security zone to higher security zone, right? Or you can say outside to inside network. Inside means DMZ, I mean. Okay, maybe in book also you will get the same reference. The traffic is coming from outside to inside, so that meaning traffic is coming from lower security level to higher security level. Okay, so that's why you have hit on untranslated hits. And you can check show con long, right? So in con long you can see all the 3 entries are exist here. And if you want to see all the entries, we can see the traffic is coming for TCP outside for 12 from 12, which is our Windows PC, right? So I'm using Windows PC and on a random port, and now the traffic is going on this public IP address, which is translated into 30.3, which is translated into 30.3. And if you remember, I created ACL for any. I have not mentioned specifically any. That's why. Okay, and the traffic is again coming for 12, so that is also translated into 3. When traffic comes for 11, that is also translated into 3. So every time traffic is translated successfully. And even you can check here, we have some flags. So like U stand for up, that session is up. I stand for inbound. Inbound means the traffic is from outside network to inside. The traffic is coming from lower security level to higher. And outbound is, what is the meaning of outbound, guys? Outbound meaning the traffic is initiated from higher security level to lower security level. That is the meaning of outbound, right? And the last one is B. What is the meaning of B? The traffic is initiated from lower security level to higher. So that is the meaning of B. If you check, just a minute. See, the traffic is initiated from outside network. Okay, so whenever traffic is coming from lower security level in countable, so that will visible with capital B flag. Okay, so this is the ideal timer, and the still connection is here. Why? Because still traffic is coming, because we have opened sessions, we have not closed the session, right? And even if you check, so the traffic is here. So this is the ideal timer of the traffic, right? Okay, so that how you can create multiple entries from many to one. That is many to one net. So is that clear to everyone? What is many to one, guys? I guess this is clear. Daniel, Kenel, Sahir, Vicky, Vidya. Okay. Olu. Okay, guys. So do you have any doubt in this configuration, like how the net is working? This is very simple actually. You no need to think a lot. So we have same type of configuration, same net. Just we created here. One, we have created object network for public pool, and that public pool we match inside the same rule, right? So here we matched under the static, right? So that how configuration is working here. Okay, so if this is clear, we can move with the next one. And what is the next one, guys? So we discussed many to one, so now we can discuss many to many. So here we have multiple public IP, and maybe also we have direct multiple server IP. Maybe this time we don't have any load balancer. So maybe we have direct three server here. So I want these three server to translate with three public IP address directly. Okay. So in this example, so the second is many to many. So what is the meaning of many to many? So when we want to translate many private IPs into many public IPs. So in that case, maybe we have three servers directly, 3.3, that is going to be translated with one public IP. Okay, and maybe we have the second 3.4, that is going to be translated with 12, right? And maybe we also have here 3.35, that is going to be translated with 13. Okay, so that how we can create here rule. So now in this rule, what we need to do, we need to configure same type of configuration but a bit different. So first, what you need to do, we need to create same object network. So this object network is like for public, right? So similar, we need to give here range 20.11 to 20.32. 13, right? And the second object network is your rule, network rule, right? So this is my rule 2 this time, okay? And under this rule I can configure here also range command, and I can give range like this, okay? And now I can configure same command here, net dmz outside static and the pool which you created above. That how you can configure, okay? And still ACL is also required, okay? So don't forget to ACL. So ACL is required for real IP address when traffic is coming from lower to higher security level. Are you getting my point? So this is required, so don't be miss the configuration. Guys, any doubt? Okay, so let's configure. So this is also similar, no big difference, but you will notice one thing in, and what is that? I will show you during the configuration, okay? So in the same, what I'm going to do, uh, okay, so first of all I need to close the connections which we did already. Okay, so this is my Windows PC, and just a minute, I need to do one thing, behavior warm, okay, logging session default save. Okay, so now what we are going to do, I need to remove the configuration first. So we need to remove two things, ACL and then net, okay? So for net, what do we need to do the clear configuration, clear configure object network, this command, and clear configure access group first, okay? And access list now, because we applied, so we need to remove the group first and then the ACL. So if you check show net, there is no net, show access list. Okay, we have one access list access, maybe because its own access list doesn't matter, but we don't have here, right? So now I'm starting with the configuration again. So what we discussed, first of all, I'm going to configure object network for public port, okay? And range, you need to give the same command. And now you need to give here network for the, so this is my second rule, okay? Because first rule we created and deleted, so changing the name as well so you can remember, okay? And rule 2, here also need to give the range, 3 to 5. Okay, and net DMZ outside static and public network, right? And the next thing is ACL is required. So I'm going to define this time network. I forgot to define the last time. So ACL is my task tool this time. Permit TCP. Source network can be anything, but I need to define the destination network. Destination network is this for me. And port number is 23 because I have multiple. Okay, maybe the ACL have different configuration here. Just a minute. I defined the network, and now net mask is required. Or let me got the mask directly. Okay, so I was thinking to give the wildcard mask, but wildcard is on iOS device, not here. Okay, access group, task 2, interface outside. Okay, so on outside interface we configured here. So this is real IP address, guys. And before that, I need to make sure R3 also have 3 loopbacks. Okay, talent is already configured. It have only 2 loopbacks. Okay, so we configured one more loopback here. And now let me try. I have configured here, and let me check show exploit. So we have here new entry, and the entries you can check. The net is for DMZ 4333 and 3334 and 5 because of /31. Okay, to outside network 20.11 and 20.11/31, which is 12 and 13, right? And con table don't have here entry right now because still traffic is not forwarded. Okay, and now I try to send. So before that I you net. Okay, net is here. So in this section 2 we have here one entry DMZ to outside, source is static, roll number 2, and for which public networks the PPL, which have 3 IPs. Okay, these are the 3 IP. And now let me initiate the traffic. So first of all, we are going to hit on 11. Okay, so the connection is here. Second, I'm going to hit on 12. Okay, admin, Cisco. Third, I'm going to hit on 13. Admin, Cisco, right? So now we have 3 connections from this client to our server, right? So we have direct server here. So what we did here, if I will repeat, so I have here 3 putty sessions. One session is on this IP 11, second session is on 12, third session is on 13. So all these 3 will exist here. So these IPs are going to be translated into 3, 4, and 5. So those are going to be translated in these 3 IP address. Okay, one into this, second into this, and third into this. Okay, and now we have to see in connection table how they are going to be translated, because this is many to many translation for us. This is many to many translation. So that means one IP 11 is going to untranslate for untranslate. Okay, so if I'm using here 2 words, so technically one is untranslate, right? And the second is translate. So untranslate means I'm talking about if traffic is coming for this IP 11, so 11 is going to be translated supposing It can be 345, right? And so that means this IP is going to untranslate into this IP address. Normally, real IP translate into the mapped one, right? But we have here opposite case. So the mapped IP is translating into real. So we can say translate, both case are translate, but for technically word or according to the firewall output, you have to say untranslate, because this is opposite, but still this is translating. This thing is still same, okay? Just for the uh, technical words, you need to know what is the meaning of translate, untranslate, okay? So now the traffic is received or not here, and what is the connection in the table? So we have to look into the device. So I'm using here showcon command. So in showcon command, you can see we have entry. So traffic is coming from this host, the Windows host on 30.5. So this is the real IP. This is real IP. This is real IP. So I want to see the con long command. Show con long. So this will show you in your connection table. So if user is coming from outside world with this IP and port number, so that is remain same. So that means source IP is not going to be translated here. Only destination IP is translating here. So 11 IP 20.11 is translating into the first IP 333. The 20.12 IP is translating into 33334, and here 20.13 is translating into the third IP 33335. So that means all the IPs are translating into the private IPs. Okay, those are in sequence even, because also have sequence. Five, right? So this is translating 11, 12, 13. Okay, so these are the translations. Guys, is that clear to everyone? So guys, any doubt regarding that? Any one of you? Okay. So now I'm going to close this session on the Windows device. Okay. So we just done. So let me close all the windows. Okay. So now what next now? So if I close, so session must be closed here as well, and show exclate. Okay. So, and even you can clear if you want to clear, if you have entry, you can do that. Okay. But we don't have any entry right now because we deleted it, right? So you can clear the entries by yourself, but maybe that will impact your network. Okay, so if this is clear, we are moving to the next step, guys. And what is the next step? So in next step, I will show we can create one to many. Okay, so in one to many session, I will show you how we can. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay. If you have any doubt, please ask. Don't hesitate, guys. Daniel, Kenel, Olo, Seher, Vicky, with Vidya. Guys, everything clear? Okay. Okay, guys. So if that is clear, so we can move with the next practical. Okay. So the next practical says that is many to one, right? Sorry, one to many. Okay. So what is the meaning of one to many? That means we want to translate multiple IP or multiple services into one IP on public with port number. So what we are trying to do here? So the concept is very simple. So maybe we don't have multiple public IPs this time. We have just a limited public IP address. So okay, and here we have multiple firewalls. Oh, sorry, multiple servers. Okay. Now this is your 3.3, 4, 3.5, right? And we have one service here that is 80. We have one service here that is 23, and we have one service here 22. So we have three server with different services. Okay, maybe we have multiple server in our DMZ zone. So what we are trying to do, we are giving multiple services from every server. But right now we have only one public IP here, and that public IP I am using is 81, right? So what I'm trying to do, from this one IP address, I want to use these three server services from different servers. So what I need to do, I need to translate every IP and service into a single IP this time. Okay, into a single IP. So how we will translate? So that means whenever traffic is coming for this 3.3 on port number 80, so that should translate into 20.1.1.11 on port number 80. So we are specifying here port number. So you can say this is type of net static pad. We are giving here port details as well, right? And the second is 4 on port number 23. That should translate into 11 on port number 23. And 3.3.3.5 with port number 22 for SSH. But public IP remains same with port number 22. So we have here one single public IP address every time if you check. Okay, but they have different port number, but on LAN maybe we have separate IPs and separate services. So that is static pad for me. That is static pad. So here I am giving static configuration. Okay, so same we have static net, but static net have multiple flavors like one to one, many to one, many to many. Okay, and okay, so now if this is clear to everyone, please let me know, guys. If there is any doubt, please you can ask. Okay, if everyone is good, so we can continue. So we have removed the sessions. So I need to remove the configuration again because this time we need to configure. Now configuration terminal, clear, configure, object net, clear, configure net, clear, configure access group. So I'm deleting the ACL every time so I can reconfigure and you can remember. Okay, because this is mandatory to configure ACL. So I don't want to configure ACL for one time. Maybe in next task you will not remember, right? So in this task, what do we need to do? We need to create here multiple configuration, guys. Multiple object network we need to configure. Like how? Object network. So first I'm giving for like with numbers. Okay, so we need to give here number like this is my task for. Okay, host remains same, the host is 30.3. Okay, and NAT DMZ outside, right? You need to give static, and here you need to give the IP address, which IP is your public IP. But after that you need to define the port number as well. You need to define real port number and map port number. Which port number, guys? Real port number and map port number. So if you check, we need to define here service, and after service we have option. So which port number we want to use here, right? So I want to use like TCP port number, and here the first, if you remember, we want to use 80. Just a minute. Yeah, see the port number, right? So I need to define here port number. So the first port number is always your port number. Okay, The second port number is the map port number. Okay. So normally we used like this. So if any user try to hit on 80 port number, that will translate into 80 with my real IP. That is the real environment scenario. Okay. So I'm using the same, or I can remove it just for now. Okay. So this is my one entry. Okay. So similar, I need to use object network for my task 5 host, for which host guys, 30.3.3 for NAT DMZ outside, same static, the public IP remains same guys. Okay. And we need to define here service is TCP based, the real port number and the map port number. Okay. So it will give you this error because same IP we are using in the upper one, so you can avoid it here, because why we are using here PAT, static PAT. Okay. So the next one is object network task number 6. Okay. And host is 3.3.5 NAT DMZ outside static, wait a minute, the IP address P1 service TCP port is 22 and 22. Okay. And now if you check show history, so what we did guys, so first we configure object 4 in which we have IP here 333, so that is the real IP of the server, and in which we want to translate with this IP address. But here I told you the real port number which is for 33380, and whenever user is trying to hit on this IP address with this port number, that is the mapped one. Okay. So we also have here mapped and the real port number. So real port number is always for the real network. So even you can hide. So that means if this user have port number 80, so this 80 port number is this one, right? And that is going to be translated into 51 on the map port number 80. So this is my map port number. Okay. So the first is real, second is mapped. So real is always with this IP address, what service you want to access for this on inside the LAN network. Okay. And in translated address we are using this port number, the mapped one. So that is whenever user is trying to hit on this interface, at that time user is going to hit on 51. Sorry, the what I'm using 51. Okay. I'm using here 51. So 51 have port number 80 with 80. So that is my map port number, right? So similar I defined for 4 with real port number 23 and the mapped interface with map port number 20. But even I can change this. I will show you for this one. Okay. But let me try this one right now. So similar 5 have port number 22. All the services are, we need to check on our true R3 we have enabled or not. So let me try it from its own. So I'm trying to take SSH of its own. Maybe that is not enabled. We need to enable here. Okay, so we have enabled here SSH. So now I can try again on this, so we will not face any problem during the traffic flow. The password is Cisco. Yeah, so SSH is enabled, and even I need to enable here HTTP protocol IP, HTTP server IP, HTTP authentication local. Okay, so HTTP is also required. So I will even test that on from its own port number 80. So that must be open. So the connection is open here. Okay. Okay, so now let me transmit the traffic. But before that, if you remember, I need to create access list also. I need to create here access list also. Okay. So on firewall, we need to configure access list. Rule one, which is going to permit. So we have TCP traffic. TCP traffic that is coming from anyone to multiple real IPs. These are the real IP. So I can't specify the port number, or do I need to specify? I no need to specify. If I don't specify, it will permit all the port numbers, right? On TCP. And access group role one in interface outside. So we have applied this ACL. Okay. So if you want to check the commands, what we did, we configured these three rules, and then I defined the access list. Okay, for outside traffic. Okay, so let me generate the traffic. So here we have same host. So the first I'm generating the traffic. Okay, so I'm generating the STTP of the router. So just use STTP 20.51. So right now we have 51, right? So STTP is asking the username admin, password is Cisco. So just if we check, okay, now we have access of router. So that how we access the router. Okay, so we have access of router, and here diagnosed configure or device manager, right? So that how we have access of router. The page is not finding the configuration commands. Okay, so these are the configuration. So we have now STTP access of this IP, so that we have access. And after that, if I'm trying to just a minute, on wrong, my bad. We have under this PC. So here we have SSH connection now. Okay, so enter the IP. 51. So we have right now port number is 22, right? Open it. Okay, that. Wait. Yeah, here we have. Username and password. Okay, so we have now SSH access. So now next we can try the telnet also. So I'm generating traffic. New session. So 20.51, right? So now we have username and password. So I accessed three applications. We have HTTP, SSH, and Telnet, right? And now check the same content here. Show conlong. Okay. Now wait. We have only two connections for Telnet and SSH. Maybe HTTP connection is done when we just refresh it, right? Just let me try again. Yeah, now we have. So maybe it was done. Okay, so you can see. So the traffic is coming from this. So this is the source user. Source user. We are not talking about this, right? So that means when traffic is coming for 20.1.1.15 on port number 22, that is going to be translate into 3335 on port number 22. Okay. And now if traffic is coming from the same public IP on port number 80, that is going to be translated into another IP with another same port number, right? And when traffic is coming with same public IP and port number 23, that's translate into 3334 on port number 23. So that means everywhere we are using the same public IP but with different services. So those are translating into the different IPs and in the respective services. Okay. So that we have achieved with this configuration. That is one to many. That is one to many. Okay. Okay, guys. Is that clear to everyone? Ariel, Kenel, hello, Sahir, Vidya, Vicky, all good. Are you getting my points, guys? Seriously, I'm asking because I'm not getting any response. Okay. So, have you practiced the last configuration on your laptops? I guess not. I don't have devices. Do you have laptop? Okay. What is the configuration of laptop? It's Mac. You don't have Windows or something because in Windows have better tools to install.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. So can you purchase if possible for you? like at least i5 i7 16 GB RAM.
Which software I can download?
We are using EVNZ, so I will share the details of EVNZ and images so you can download and install on your laptop. But on Mac, maybe you need to purchase the tools, so that is a complex bit. Like you need VMware Workstation, right? So on Windows we have VMware Workstation, and that is free of cost. So that
Okay,
is,
just share me the details
yeah, I
whenever
will
you
share the
send me.
details. Okay. Okay, okay, guys. So let's continue. So is it enough, or do I need to continue with the next configuration of the? So I'm going with now dynamic net. So if static net is clear to everyone, I will start with the dynamic net here. Okay, let me continue. So guys, what is dynamic net? Any one of you know about that? Okay. So the next is dynamic net, because static net is flexible for server and all, right? But we also require a dynamic net in network. Why? Because dynamic net is something else that we can't achieve with static net. Okay. So dynamic net is giving you privilege to configure the devices within a specific pool, right? That we can achieve. So let's talk about it. Dynamic net. Okay. So the first of all, dynamic net also translates the source address, right? So it only translates the source address. And the second point is, so by default there is no entry in the table, or in, you can say, escalate table, right? By default there is no entry in the table. Okay. So table is empty. Table is empty in that case, because dynamic net don't have entry by default. Device creates the entry when traffic will pass, but in static by default traffic pass, by default there is entry, right? And for dynamic, entry remains for 3 hours. If that means there is any traffic pass through the device, so for that entry will remain for 3 hours in the net table. Okay. And this is dynamic, but still it also create the entries 1 to 1. but that is dynamic. That is one-to-one mapping. Okay, so one IP translate into another IP. Okay, and this last thing, this is unidirectional. So that means traffic can only initiate from the real interface, not from the map like this. So this is something new. Okay, so now let understand the concept. So I don't have many use actually, but I will try. So I'm giving idea of a LAN network. So this is usually for LAN if we want, but normally we don't use that dynamic concept. So the concept is very simple. We have ASA here, we have internet. Okay, and I'm using this IP address like 51. Okay, and here I have multiple LAN users. Okay, like dot 1, dot 2, and dot 3. So what I need to do, not only one IP this time, because I need a public pool this time. What I need, guys, I need a public pool. So I want to create here pool of public IPs, like similar where we created network. So this is public, so I can define here range 51 to 50. And the secondly, what I need to do, I need to define the pool of this. This is not range this time, guys. Range is like one. Okay, and here I need to give a number 7, task 7. So this time you have to use here subnet. Okay, subnet means you are talking about a complete network, like this is our LAN network. Okay, so this is not one-to-one mapping. Okay, this is net inside to outside world, and here I need to define, I'm using type is dynamic, and this should be here. Okay, so that is the configuration of dynamic pat, guys. This is the configuration of dynamic pat. So I hope this is clear to everyone. Any doubt, guys? Okay, so if that is clear, let's start the config. So configuration is very easy this time. Let me close the windows. R1 clear. Configuration clear. Access list clear. Object clear. Configure object network. Okay, clear configure net. So we removed all the configuration. Okay, so now let's configure. So this time we need to give a public IP pool that is with same range command. And now the next is we need to give here task 7, and we need to give subnet first, okay, for my LAN network. So LAN network have this subnet, and give the net inside is my real and outside is my mapped. I need to give dynamic, and here I need to give the name of this. So this is my dynamic, guys. Okay, if you check show escalate, so there is no entry this time, but net is configured, guys. You can see the net is configured. Okay, so inside to outside shows dynamic task 7, and this is the network, right? Okay, but escalate table have only entry when traffic will pass this time, and connection table is only created when traffic will pass. But last time, if you remember, I showed you escalate table that was filled with entries. Why? Because of static configuration. Because of static configuration. Okay. So now we are on R1. Just I am going to send some TCP traffic telnet 20.2, which is R2, right? What's wrong with it? Wait. Okay. Yeah. So now you traffic is allowed. Okay. So R1 have created the connection. Similar on R5. Okay. Wait a minute. So can we check the entries this time? So you can check escalate table have created entry that is from inside 10.5 to 52. So they choose from the pool, and 10.1 also from 52. And if you check this to escalate, this is escalate show con long, and even here we have entry, right? 10.5 is translated into 20.52 and 10.1 translated into 51, right? So that how we can check, and this is the escalate ID because the entries are dynamic. Okay, so if I check, we have entries in escalate table, and the timeout is, you can check, 3 minutes, right? If I'm going to delete the entries, okay, like I will close the connection, and here also I will close the connection from R5. Wait a minute. Okay, I just close the connection from both. So con table will delete entry at the same time, but escalate table will delete after 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, guys. Oh, sorry, 3 hours, my bad. Okay, so that is 3 hours. Okay, so that's why entries here. Why? Because these are dynamic entries, and they will delete it after the use. Okay, after the use, and you can see the entries are dynamic. See, that is I is for dynamic. Okay, Okay, so that is all about dynamic net, guys. Okay, so if you want to clear the escalate table, do that, right? And show escalate. So now there is no because we deleted it manually, otherwise it will take around. Okay, guys. So in next class we will discuss about PAT. Okay, the static PAT we discussed already. We will discuss about dynamic PAT and